most important development in his life. Bieber himself admits that without her, there would be no story worth telling. She is the reason he found his way back. She gives him substance to talk about. She is the person he is learning to love unconditionally, the person he wants to start a family with. Even if he never sells another record, he has found a deep sense of peace, because he knows he has the rest of his life to build a relationship founded on trust, patience, and solid ground. Their journey to marriage, however, was far from smooth. Before the 2017 tour, when they were spending a lot of time together, Bieber had been honest with Hailey. He told her he was still hurting, still trying to figure things out, and not ready to make a commitment. He didn't want to say one thing and do the opposite. He had done that too many times in the past. He wasn't in a place where he could be faithful, even though he wanted to be. The hurt he was carrying came largely from his previous relationship. He was dealing with a lot of unforgiveness and unresolved pain, though at the time he didn't even fully understand what he was struggling with. He only knew that he respected Hailey and didn't want to let her down. But even so, she loved him, and watching him with other people hurt her deeply. In response, she did things that hurt him in return. They went back and forth, causing each other pain, and before the tour began, they had essentially stopped talking. This time, however, Bieber didn't react the way he had in the past. In previous relationships, when things fell apart, he would go off the rails, partying, being reckless, spiraling out of control. But this time was different. He took time to genuinely work on himself. He focused on making better decisions, on rebuilding his own foundation. And during that period, Hailey would check in on him through mutual friends. When she heard that he was doing well, she would get upset. How can he be doing well without me? A perfectly normal human reaction. For his part, Bieber didn't really know what was happening inside him, so he went deep into his faith. He had always believed in Jesus, but he had never truly implemented that belief into his daily life. He had faith that Jesus died on the cross for him, but he never actually tried to be obedient to what that meant. He wasn't sleeping around, he wasn't doing a lot of the things he used to do. He was mostly just keeping to himself. The turning point came when his perception of who Jesus really was began to shift. Growing up in a Christian household, Bieber had witnessed a lot of hypocrisy. His mother, who had experienced tremendous hurt in her own life, was navigating her faith journey the best she could. But to Justin it was confusing. She would tell him he was forgiven, but then make him feel ashamed when he did something wrong. He couldn't reconcile the two messages. If Jesus forgives me, why are you making me feel bad for doing something? He didn't have a good example of what a true Christian looked like, so he never took the faith seriously. As he grew older, he began to actually examine the character of Jesus. He realized he had been looking at Jesus through the distorted lens of flawed human examples. The more he studied Jesus for himself, the more he understood that faith isn't about earning God's love by doing good things. It's about accepting that God already loves you, completely, before you've done anything to deserve it. The forgiveness Jesus offers is a free gift. And once you truly understand that, your behavior changes. Not out of obligation but out of gratitude. As Bieber put it, he doesn't want to cheat on his wife because it's the right thing to do. He doesn't want to cheat on her because he doesn't want to hurt her. That's the difference between religion and love. When asked if he believed he was on a path of self-destruction before this transformation, Bieber didn't hesitate. He was 100% certain. He doesn't know if he would even be alive today if he had continued down that road. The darkness was real, deep and overwhelming. He is deeply grateful for the people in his life who modeled healthy relationships. Their relationships with Jesus, with their wives, with their children. He saw what they had and decided he wanted that too. Months after that they were married. The decision to reconnect with Hailey came at a pivotal moment. He saw her at an event and she was holding a baby. The nurturing look in her eyes as she gazed at that child struck him like lightning. He thought to himself, I want the mother of my children to look at a baby the way she is looking at that one. He saw something so special in that moment, and he knew she could offer that to him. Couple of months later he proposed. Couple of months after that they were married. This was a massive step, especially for someone whose parents were never married. Bieber had no template for what a healthy marriage looked like. He didn't know if he could even do it. He had never seen it modeled. But he felt God saying, "I'll show you how. Just trust." So he trusted, committed to Hailey, and let God lead the way. Today, Bieber is still learning how to navigate his relationships with his parents. He acknowledges there are different levels of what their relationship can handle, depending on where each person is in their own faith journey. He's learning to let his parents simply be his mom and dad, while also establishing boundaries. Understanding the roles different people play in his life and not giving everyone access to every part of him. This is something he's had to learn not just for his emotional well-being, but as a business leader as well. Trust has always been a struggle. He admits he has a problem with trust. Sometimes he trusts too little, other times he trusts too much and gets taken advantage of. People have certainly taken advantage of him in the past, and he's still figuring out how to navigate that, especially now that he's married. But through it all, he considers himself incredibly blessed to have the best wife in the world. She supports him through so much, and he's genuinely honored to be her husband. Changes was written during the first year of his marriage. Bieber calls it a honeymoon record. Fresh, light, and reflective of that new chapter. But he acknowledges there is so much more to learn about commitment, trust, and building a solid foundation. He already has ideas for future projects that will explore deeper issues. Injustice, marginalized communities, overlooked people. But everything in its time. For now, his priority is the woman in his life and building their relationship together. When asked what Hailey has taught him, Bieber points to patience as a major lesson. He admits he has been impatient, and she has been too. Like all humans, they both have moments of impatience. But every morning, they wake up and make a conscious decision to put aside selfish desires and negative thoughts. They acknowledge these feelings exist. He's genuinely excited for the future, for having children, for celebrating all the amazing blessings in his life. He and Hailey often remind each other that they are incredibly blessed. Even in a world filled with so much pain and so much that is unexplainable, they choose to acknowledge that they are blessed. It's a difficult balance. How do you mourn loss while still recognizing your blessings? But once you reach that place, it's a beautiful place to be. Looking back on the last decade, Bieber feels like so much of it was out of his control. He's worked hard to regain some of that control. But now he's simply looking forward. He wants people to understand the psychology behind why someone in his position could still struggle. It's not about complaining. It's about shedding light on the reality that money and fame don't solve everything. Artists go through their own battles, and those struggles deserve to be acknowledged and accepted. Bieber wants his story to speak for itself, not to force his beliefs on anyone, but simply to share what he's been through. If it resonates with someone, if it helps them in any way, then it's worth telling. As he said, "If Justin can be vulnerable where he's at, then I can do the same thing." This is the power of his journey. A young man who grew up in the spotlight, who lost his way, who hit rock bottom, and who found his way back through love, faith, and the courage to be honest about his struggles. It's a story of redemption, and it's far from over. Everyone thinks Justin Bieber was discovered on YouTube. That's not entirely true. His mother, Patty Millett, uploaded videos of him singing to YouTube so that family members could watch them. She never intended for them to go viral. A talent manager named Scooter Braun stumbled upon one of those videos while searching for another artist. He spent months tracking down Justin's mother, eventually convincing her to let him manage Justin. The rest is history. But the discovery was pure luck, not a calculated plan. Fact number 2. He could have been a hockey player. Before music took over his life, Justin was obsessed with hockey. He played competitively as a child and was actually quite good. His dream was to become a professional hockey player. Even today, he still plays pickup games whenever he can. If Scooter Braun hadn't found him, we might know Justin Bieber as a hockey star instead of a pop icon. Fact number 3. He was arrested for drag racing, and it changed everything. In 2014, Justin was arrested in Miami for drag racing and driving under the influence. He was 19 years old. It was one of the lowest points of his life. The mugshot went viral and the media had a field day. Justin later admitted that this arrest was a major wake-up call. He realized he was spiraling out of control and needed to make serious changes. That arrest, as shameful as it was, actually helped push him toward the path of healing. Fact number 4. He almost quit music permanently in 2017. When Justin canceled the remainder of his Purpose tour in 2017, many fans thought he would just take a short break. They were wrong. Justin seriously considered quitting music forever. He was so exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally, that he didn't know if he would ever perform again. He told his team he was done. It took years of therapy, healing, and the love of Hailey to bring him back. Fact number 5. He has a rare condition called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. In 2022, Justin revealed that he had been diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare neurological condition that caused partial paralysis on one side of his face. He couldn't blink, smile, or move half of his face. He had to cancel several tour dates. Fans were shocked, but Justin bravely shared his condition on Instagram, showing the world exactly what he was going through. Fact number 6. He spent over $100,000 on therapy. Justin has been open about his mental health struggles. He reportedly spent over $100,000 on therapy and mental health treatments during his darkest years. He worked with therapists, counselors, and life coaches to address his anxiety, depression, and trauma. He believes that investing in his mental health was the best decision he ever made. Fact number 7. He cried for 3 hours after his first meeting with Hailey's father. When Justin first met Hailey's father, actor Stephen Baldwin, he was terrified. Stephen is a deeply religious man, and Justin wasn't sure how he would be received. After their meeting, Justin reportedly went to his hotel room and cried for 3 hours. He felt so overwhelmed by the weight of wanting to be worthy of Hailey and her family. It was a moment of raw vulnerability that showed how much he truly cared. Musical notes section B. The story behind the album, Changes. A deep dive into the music itself. The meaning behind the title. The album Changes is exactly what it sounds like. A documentation of transformation. Justin didn't just change his sound. He changed his entire life. The album is about changing his lifestyle, leaving behind partying, drugs, and reckless behavior, changing his relationships, rebuilding trust with Hailey and reconciling with family, changing his faith, moving from a surface-level belief to a deep, personal relationship with God, changing his priorities, realizing that money and fame mean nothing without love and peace. The song, That's What Love Is. The backstory. This song is one of the most personal on the album. Justin wrote it about the moment he knew Hailey was the one. Remember the story about seeing her holding a baby at an event? That exact moment inspired the song. The lyrics reflect his realization that real love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone every single day, even when it's hard. The hidden baby sounds on the album. At the end of one of the tracks you can hear baby sounds. Fans went crazy speculating that Hailey was pregnant. Justin later revealed that the baby sounds were actually his niece's voice. He included them because they represent his hopes for the future, a family of his own someday. Why Pooh Bear was the perfect producer. Justin has worked with producer Pooh Bear for years. Their chemistry is undeniable. Pooh Bear understands Justin's vocal range and gives him the space to stretch his voice without overpowering it. The album has a smooth, R&B-inspired sound that feels intimate and personal. Exactly what Justin wanted. He didn't want to make a pop album. He wanted to make music that felt Vaughn. But even during that separation, they both continued to grow individually, which ultimately prepared them for reconciliation. The proposal. A private and intimate moment. Justin proposed to Hailey in July 2018 at a hotel in the Bahamas. The proposal was extremely private. Only close family and friends knew about it. Justin got down on one knee and told Hailey that she was the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. She said yes immediately. They later revealed that the engagement was a complete surprise to Hailey. She had no idea it was coming. The secret wedding. Justin and Hailey got married in a secret courthouse ceremony in September 2018. They didn't tell the media. They didn't have a big, flashy wedding. It was just the two of them, a few witnesses, and a whole lot of love. They later had a larger ceremony in South Carolina in 2019. But their first wedding was incredibly intimate and private. Why Hailey stopped modeling. When Justin's health issues became serious, Hailey made a difficult decision. She stepped back from her modeling career to focus on supporting him. She has been his constant companion through medical appointments, therapy sessions, and emotional breakdowns. She once said, "I married Justin for who he is, not what he has. And I would marry him all over again." Hospital Section D. The Lyme disease battle. Full details. Expand on his health struggles. What is Lyme disease? Lyme disease is a tick-borne illness that can cause severe fatigue, joint pain, neurological issues, and brain fog. Justin had it for years without knowing. By the time he was diagnosed, the disease had already done significant damage to his health. He required intravenous treatments and extensive medical care to manage the symptoms. The Epstein-Barr connection. In addition to Lyme disease, Justin also tested positive for Epstein-Barr virus, which causes mononucleosis. Both illnesses together left him feeling completely depleted. He described it as a massive fatigue that no amount of rest could fix. He would sleep for hours and still wake up exhausted. It was a nightmare. How it affected his mental health. Justin has admitted that the physical exhaustion from Lyme disease took a massive emotional toll on him. He felt hopeless, frustrated, and scared. He didn't understand why his body was failing him. The illness made him withdraw from people and led to severe anxiety and depression. The combination of physical and mental health struggles was almost unbearable. The treatment. What he had to do. To manage his Lyme disease, Justin underwent intravenous vitamin and antibiotic therapy, completely changed his diet, cutting out sugar, alcohol, and processed foods, practiced hyperbaric oxygen therapy to boost healing, committed to daily ice baths to reduce inflammation, worked with a team of specialist doctors. He still manages the disease today and has to be careful not to overexert himself. Folded hands section E. His faith journey. A deeper look. Expand on his spiritual transformation. Why he didn't take faith seriously as a kid. Justin grew up in a Christian home, but his mother was navigating her own pain. She had been through a lot of trauma, and her faith was a work in progress. To young Justin, Christianity felt confusing. He would be told he was forgiven, but then he would be shamed for his mistakes. He couldn't reconcile the two messages. He also witnessed hypocrisy in the church, people who claimed to love Jesus but acted in unloving ways. Those experiences pushed him away from God for years. The turning point. When he actually started reading the Bible. It wasn't until his dark years in 2017 and 2018 that Justin actually started reading the Bible for himself. He stopped relying on what other people told him about God. He decided to find out for himself who Jesus really was. What he discovered shocked him. Jesus wasn't a judgmental, angry figure. He was kind, compassionate, and welcoming to sinners, outcasts, and broken people. Justin saw himself in those people. He realized that God wasn't waiting to punish him. God was waiting to love him. The concept of grace. What it really means. Justin says that his biggest breakthrough was understanding grace. He stopped trying to earn God's love by being good. He accepted that God already loved him, even in his worst moments. This freed him to live differently, not out of fear of punishment, but out of gratitude for being accepted. He stopped hiding from his mistakes and started being honest about his struggles. His relationship with Jesus today. Justin now describes himself as a follower of Jesus. He doesn't just believe in God. He actively tries to live out his faith. He attends church regularly, reads the Bible with Hailey, and surrounds himself with people who challenge him to grow spiritually. He believes that his faith is the foundation of his marriage, his career, and his mental health. Microphone section F. His influence on other artists. Add this to show his impact on the music industry. The Justin Bieber effect. Justin Bieber didn't just become a pop star. He changed the music industry. He was one of the first artists to use social media to build a global fan base. His success paved the way for artists like Shawn Mendes, Billie Eilish, and Olivia Rodrigo. Without Justin Bieber, the modern pop landscape would look completely different. Why Billie Eilish cried when she met him. When Justin appeared on stage with Billie Eilish at Coachella, she broke down crying. It wasn't just because she was a fan, it was because Justin had been a huge influence on her career. She grew up watching his videos and seeing how he handled fame. Meeting him was a full-circle moment for her. Justin, in turn, felt protective of her. He told her she could count on him if she ever needed help navigating the industry. The friendship with Ariana Grande. Justin and Ariana Grande have supported each other for years. When Justin was struggling with Lyme disease, Ariana reached out privately to check on him. When she faced her own challenges, Justin did the same. They share a mutual respect and understanding of what it's like to grow up in the spotlight. How he inspired Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes has said multiple times that Justin Bieber was his biggest inspiration. Shawn's 2014 Justin Bieber's mugshot went viral. Everyone thought he was just another Hollywood train wreck. But nobody knew that 3 years later, he would be diagnosed with 2 diseases that were slowly destroying his body: Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr virus. He canceled his $100 million tour and nearly quit music forever. Then, something incredible happened. He met Hailey again. She didn't see the fame or the money. She just saw a broken man who needed love. He proposed just months later. They got married. He started therapy. He went deep into his faith. And he came back, not as the same boy who sang Baby, but as a man. Today, Justin is happier, healthier, and about to become a father. The boy who lost his way found his way back. And his story is far from over. Robin McLaurin Williams was born on July 21, 1951, in Chicago, Illinois. He was the only child of Robert Fitzgerald Williams, a senior executive at Ford Motor Company, and Lori McLaurin, a former model and actress. Robin had 2 half-brothers from his father's previous marriage, but he essentially grew up as an only child. His family was wealthy, but Robin's childhood was profoundly lonely. His father was a strict, stoic man who traveled constantly for work. His mother was preoccupied with social life and her own ambitions. Robin was often left alone in the family's large, sprawling homes, surrounded by nannies and servants but lacking emotional connection. The lonely only child. Robin later described his childhood as one of isolation. He would entertain himself by mimicking voices, playing with his toy soldiers, and creating imaginary worlds. He had few friends and spent most of his time in his own head. The loneliness he experienced as a child would haunt him for the rest of his life. Finding comedy as a survival mechanism. Robin discovered early on that making people laugh was a way to get attention. He would do impressions of his teachers, his relatives, and anyone he met. He realized that laughter brought him the connection he desperately craved. Comedy became his shield, his armor, and his way of being seen. Education and early struggles. Robin attended the Detroit Country Day School, where he was an average student at best. He wasn't interested in academics. He was interested in making people laugh. His teachers often described him as hyperactive and distracted. He was bullied by some classmates for being different, for being the class clown who never seemed to take anything seriously. After high school, Robin enrolled at Claremont Men's College in California to study political science. He lasted only a year. He found the classes boring and was more interested in the theater department. He dropped out and enrolled in the prestigious Juilliard School in New York City. Juilliard, the birth of a genius. At Juilliard, Robin was one of only 20 students accepted into the drama program. He was taught by the legendary John Houseman and studied alongside Christopher Reeve, who would later become Superman. Robin and Christopher became close friends. Christopher later recalled that Robin was the angriest and most intense performer he had ever seen. At Juilliard, Robin's comedic genius was undeniable, but it was also chaotic. He would improvise wildly during scenes, leaving his classmates struggling to keep up. His teachers recognized his immense talent but were often frustrated by his inability to stay on script. The breakthrough of Star is Born. Robin left Juilliard after 3 years. He was invited to stay for a fourth but chose to leave. He moved to San Francisco and started performing stand-up comedy at clubs like the Holy City Zoo. His style was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. He was a whirlwind of energy, jumping from one character to another, doing impressions of everyone from presidents to pop culture icons. In 1976, he was discovered by television producer George Schlatter, who cast him in a comedy special called The Richard Pryor Show. Robin's performance was electric. The audience couldn't believe what they were seeing. Chapter 2. The Rise to Fame. Mork, Movies and Madness, 1973 to 1988. Mork and Mindy. The Role That Changed Everything. In 1978, Robin was cast as the alien Mork in an episode of Happy Days. The episode was so popular that the network immediately spun it off into its own show, Mork and Mindy. The show was an instant phenomenon. Robin's improvisational genius was given free rein. The writers would write minimal scripts and let Robin improvise most of his lines. He would make up characters, voices, and entire scenes on the spot. Audiences were mesmerized. Robin went from a struggling comedian to a household name overnight. The show ran for 4 seasons and turned Robin into a global superstar. But the fame came at a cost. Robin was working around the clock, pushing himself to the absolute limit. He was addicted to the adoration, but he was also terrified of losing it. Good Morning, Vietnam. The movie that made him a legend. In 1987, Robin starred in Good Morning, Vietnam, directed by Barry Levinson. He played Adrian Cronauer, a radio DJ in Vietnam who brings laughter and chaos to the troops. Robin was allowed to improvise his radio monologues, and what resulted was pure magic. The film was a massive critical and commercial success. Robin received his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. It was the moment the world realized he wasn't just a comedian. He was a serious actor with incredible range. The dark side of success. Despite the success, Robin was struggling internally. He was doing massive amounts of cocaine and drinking heavily. He later admitted he was addicted to the high of performing, but also addicted to the substances that helped him escape the noise in his head. He also developed a serious issue with PMS. He would perform everywhere, even in private moments. He couldn't turn it off. The man who made millions laugh was also the man who couldn't stop his own mind from racing. Chapter 3. The Oscar Winner and the Addict, 1989 to 2000. Dead Poets Society. The Teacher Who Inspired a Generation. In 1989, Robin starred in Dead Poets, the Oscar Winner. In 1993, Robin starred in Mrs. Doubtfire, playing a divorced father who disguises himself as a female housekeeper to be near his children. The film was a massive box office hit and earned Robin his 3rd Academy Award nomination. The role required incredible physical transformation, hours of makeup, prosthetics, and acting. Robin handled it with his trademark energy, improvising much of the dialogue. The film remains one of his most beloved works. Good Will Hunting, finally the Oscar. In 1997, Robin starred in Good Will Hunting, directed by Gus Van Sant. He played Dr. Sean Maguire, a therapist who helps a troubled young genius, played by Matt Damon. The film was a critical and commercial success. Robin won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance. His acceptance speech was brief and heartfelt. He thanked his father, his mother, and his acting teachers. He also thanked his close friend Christopher Reeve. It was the pinnacle of his career, but even then Robin was struggling. He later admitted that after winning the Oscar, he felt empty. The validation he had craved didn't fill the void inside him. Chapter 4. The Marriage, Love, Turmoil and Redemption. First marriage, Valerie Velarde. In 1978, Robin married Valerie Velarde, a dancer and actress. They had one son together, Zach Williams, born in 1983. The marriage was rocky from the start. Robin's drug use, intense work schedule, and emotional instability put enormous strain on the relationship. Valerie later said that Robin was two different people, the charming, brilliant comedian on stage and the anxious, depressed man at home. They divorced in 1988. Second marriage, Marcia Garces. In 1989, Robin married Marcia Garces, his former nanny. They had two children together, Zelda Williams, born 1989, and Cody Williams, born 1991. Marcia was a stabilizing force in Robin's life. She helped him manage his career, his finances, and his addiction. The couple stayed together for over 20 years, but the marriage eventually fell apart. Robin's depression, addiction, and workaholism took their toll. They divorced in 2010.